Welcome back to Passion Universe. I'm your host, Oma Hagoma. On this glorious day, one of my childhood dreams comes true. I'm about to have a conversation with one of the highest prospects in WWE right now, a former defensive lineman and fullback, someone who went from a walk-on to team captain, a multi-year starter and number one jersey recipient at Northwestern University. He also holds a master's in management studies and undergraduate degrees in communications, theater, and journalistic writing. Please welcome NXT superstar Tank Ledger. Tank, how are you?
Great, man. Over, gassing me up, giving me intro, hitting the folks with the stats. I love it, man. Thanks for having me on today. Passion Universe, baby.
My pleasure. So I bet a lot of people are wondering, how did you come up with the name Tank Ledger?
Sure. I mean, it's cool. It's cool joining the WWE when you're getting going down there at the Performance Center. Obviously, everyone knows you get your wrestling name, you're building that identity, and like your identity and like your character, the folks at the WWE, the awesome writing team we have, they want your name to be something that you identify with. So obviously I was brainstorming all kinds of different names. You can look back in my notes in my phone, and most of the names are absolutely laughable and just ridiculous because I was just writing down anything that could come to mind. But like most things in my life, like most decisions, I was talking to my dad about it, and he was always like, "Oh, Tank, it's got to be Tank. Tank this, tank that." He was really pushing for Tank Abrams, which an Abrams tank is one of the biggest tanks in the military. So that was one of the top names I put down on my list was Tank Abrams. It just sounded badass. I'm a bigger, stockier guy.
I love it.
And it was funny. One of the producers laughed at me and they were like, "It's not going to be Tank, yada, yada, this, yada, yada, that." And then like a week later, I got Tank Ledger. So I was lucky to get, my top name. It was great. It worked out real well.
Awesome. So you joined WWE back in 2021 after a successful run in football. Your pathway was a newly formed Next in Line program at the time. Can you tell me more about the NIL program and how you became aware of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those of you who are not aware of what name, image, and likeness is, what NIL is in college athletics, that was a statute that was passed going into my last year of college, which I believe was the 2021 football season. Going into that year, the NCAA deemed that it was legal and right for college athletes to benefit off their own name, image, and likeness, which meant now student athletes could go back to their hometown and host a football camp and make some money from that, or partner with a brand and do brand deals and use their name, their image, and their likeness, everything that's as personal to you as it can be. Athletes can now use that to benefit themselves, to make a little money, and to go into some business ventures. So obviously brands were chomping at the bit to work with different college athletes. I was lucky enough to have been talking to the WWE for probably the past couple years. Really, I started reaching out to the WWE when I think I was a sophomore in college. I just knew that I loved what I saw. I had this passion for speaking. I had this passion for competition and controlled chaos. So I had been talking to them and then was lucky enough to be talking to the right people at the right time as all these NIL deals were going down. And I was a part of the first NIL WWE class, WWE's NIL deal group. They dub it as next in line for NXT, for WWE, for the future of their amazing company. So I was really blessed to be a part of that group. I was actually the first one down here along with my fellow NIL teammate, if you will, and someone who came in alongside of me and is a great dude. He's badass in the ring, but Oba Femi, he was part of a similar situation. And we came down at a similar time, because of WWE NIL. I was able to finish my football dream. Once things kind of went silent with the NFL, I was like, all right, let's go. Let's hit the ground running. Finished my master's. A week later, I was trying out for the WWE. And about 3 weeks later, I was moving down and wrestling full time. So it was the NIL pathway that WWE created that allowed me to hit the ground running.
No wasted motion.
No wasted motion. Exactly, bro. That's the beauty of what they got going on here. And it's really, we could talk more about it if you'd like, but what they're doing with this NIL program is just going up and up and up. I was at the ground floor of it and it was fantastic. And it's just getting better and better.
I can imagine. Yeah. What do you think about the idea of WWE creating a program similar to NIL, but for media personalities like journalists, reporters, commentators, referees, ringside crews?
Yeah, no, it's interesting, Omer. Obviously they gravitate to the NIL pathway for the WWE superstar, because I think that's what, college athletes who have this it factor or have this inclination to reach out to WWE and partner in an NIL thing, they're looking for that superstar status. They want to be in the ring. But you're so right, bro. You're so right. There's all kinds of people out there who are dreaming about being a commentator or being a ref or being in some other part of this gigantic WWE company and family. I don't know. I don't know how it would work with an NIL program. I wonder if the WWE's current NIL program would be willing just to simply present those opportunities in front of college athletes or in front of other college students or whoever else they're recruiting, as like, hey, WWE superstar is pretty cool, but it's also a pretty big task. Not everybody's going to want to do that. There might be other people who are gravitated to refereeing, commentating, this, that, the other thing, when they hear about it. They might not even know those opportunities exist. So I think you're absolutely right. NIL is all about creating visibility for student athletes, seeing that visible route to becoming a WWE superstar. And I think you're absolutely right, Omar. Who's to say that potentially there couldn't be more visibility about other pathways to other positions?
Yeah, I would love to see it happen one day. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be cool. Could be cool. Lots of possibilities for sure.
Walk us through a day in the life of a WWE superstar from the moment you wake up to the moment you go back to bed.
For sure. Yeah, we'll get in the weeds here, man. I love it. I'll start by saying today's a little bit different. We're recording on a Tuesday, which is obviously NXT Tuesday, NXT TV's day. So we go in a little bit later on a day like today, but then we're there a little bit later filming, mentally preparing for matches, things like that. But the normal day, this goes back to real quickly to NIL. That's a big reason they're going after a lot of athletes, college athletes, pro athletes, because it's very similar schedule to that of a pro athlete, of a college athlete. On a normal day, you're waking up early, you're getting in there. I'm having my breakfast, getting my fuel, and then getting in there early with my tag team partner, Hank, and usually some other tag teams that we gel well with, and lifting hard, conditioning hard, training hard in the weight room for probably about hour and a half, 2 hours. Usually die down for about a half hour in between there. And then with those same guys, with my tag team partner, Hank, and other, tag teams that we're buddies with and that we work really hard and well with, we'll get in the ring with a coach and train and practice. Beat the crap out of each other for the next 3 hours. Usually a little break after there. And then the afternoon is filled with things like skull, like watching film, like getting back in the ring and walking through more technique and figuring out why certain things were clicking earlier, why certain things weren't. Obviously, my tag partner and I, and pretty much, any tag team who's worth their salts, are taking time in those afternoons to brainstorm, to think, how are we different, to think, how are our moves different, think, how are our moves, which moves are hitting, which ones aren't, what are we missing? I think a lot of people sleep on the creative aspect of the art that we do. Yes, it's wrestling. Yes, it's fun. Yes, it's chaotic. And everybody loves the mayhem that takes place in the ring. But there's a lot of thought that goes into it. So a lot of that thought's taking place, like I said, in those afternoons. And yeah, I'd say, like I said, most of the afternoon is a lot of review, a lot of brainstorm, a lot of things like that. You spend time thinking about the message you want to convey in when you're speaking, practicing with the mic, because obviously that's a huge part of this gig. And then at night, you're going home, you're eating, and you're recovering and getting ready for the next day. I'd say, I like to refer to it, say it's a little more time than a 9 to 5, but it's really the best, most badass, most fun 9 to 5 in the world. We're getting in there early and getting after it. And by 5, 6 o'clock, you're pretty drained, so you better be taking your ass home.
Sounds like a lot of hard work, but equally enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So according to cagematch.net, you have 40 matches under your belt so far. Based on the feedback you received from your coaches, name one thing you're absolutely crushing and one thing you would like to improve.
Ooh, I like this question. Gosh, it's hard. Because we're all our best critic. Us, especially, me and Hank, being from the college football background, we're very quick to point out our flaws. So something that, I need to work on is, the number one thing that comes to mind is not waiting, fighting back quicker, letting people know that I'm there. A lot of times people will get up on me And I got more in the tank. I don't want to have to make the tag too fast, pull a little more weight like we always want to do for our tag team partner, for our brother. So that's something I've been thinking about. It's hard to say something I'm crushing. I don't want to toot my own horn or anything. But I think me and Hank right now are really hitting our stride with how we're clicking with our tag team moves, with things that make us unique. Yeah, we got some cool moves that we can do on our own, a lot of passion and fire that we can show on our own. But I think right now, me and him are really starting to catch our own stride and unlock a little bit new level of tenacity and violence through each other, which is really exciting.
I'm really glad you mentioned your tag team partner, Hank Walker. How did your tag team with Hank come about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think some people joke that it's just because our names rhymed or something like that. A lot of people don't know that we also actually have the same first real name. So that makes it easy too. But in all honesty, we started a great relationship the second I got down here at NXT. It's actually funny. My tryout with WWE, the first match I ever did, true wrestling match, was with Hank at my tryout. I don't know, a year and a half ago, a little more than then. So it's funny how it's come full circle. You know, I was getting introduced to him. Hey, Joe, this is Joe wrestling at our WWE tryout. And now here we are a year and a half later, not a fully formed, but a true tag team, trying to become fully formed. But yeah, it really happened very organically. After that tryout, I came down a few weeks later and I'm catching my bearings, getting a feel for everything that is Orlando and the Performance Center. And soon enough, you're making friends, you're spending time with more people in ring, in training. And Hank quickly became one of those people. And he was someone who, was a few months ahead of me and was doing everything right. Kicking tail, working his own tail off, and was absolutely just a leader, even though he was still a new guy. And I looked up to that. I envied that. I said, I'm a new guy too, but I want to be held in the same light that Hank is. Everyone respected Hank. Even though he was a new guy, he was learning from everybody. He was training his ass off. And I wanted to be like that. And, you become who you surround yourself with. So I made sure I surrounded myself with Hank, and we just really hit it off and fed off each other, have similar personalities and similar sense of humor. Spent time in the ring together and got a few matches, at smaller shows as tag team partners. And, to oversimplify it, the chemistry was just there. And it's pretty cool because we've just become better friends and better wrestlers ever since. So very, very blessed to have obviously a great work relationship with him, with how we work in the ring and the violence we want to convey together and the damage we want to do, but also to have a great personal relationship and call him my best friend. So things are very good.
As a fan, I can definitely see the chemistry beaming through the TV. So
appreciate that. Omar, I got to ask you, who's your favorite tag team, either of all time or in the WWE right now? We're talking tag team wrestling. We're talking chemistry partners. Who comes to your mind?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Mm-hmm. I think even though they're not together at the moment, it would have to be the Usos.
I mean, they're legendary for sure.
Yes,
absolutely.
Legendary.
We'll see. They always find a way of ending up back together. So I don't know. It's crazy stuff going on right now.
Never say never, right?
Yeah, right.
So let's get back to you then. I think we need to talk about the time you broke your tooth during a tag team match back in May. What do you remember from that match against Briggs and Jensen?
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. The tooth popped out a few times, but it was a great match. Obviously, a bit of a proving point match for me and Hank that we unfortunately didn't come out on top of it, but it was against two guys that we obviously respect a lot and are respected greatly through the NXT universe, through the NXT tag team universe, as a couple of true badasses and brawlers like me and Hank. So that was a great proving point match early in me and Hank's career. And we went in ready to go. We went in ready to rock and to kick some ass. And I think that's obviously the same mindset that Briggs and Jensen always bring. And Briggs hit me with a hell of a lariat, and I came up and felt a little blood and felt the tooth a little chipped out. And sure enough, spit it out and looked. I was like, oh, sick, popped out. And it definitely unlocked a little bit of the gear. Got some licks back on Briggs, and yeah. I mean, I think people get fired up about it, but I playing ball for as long as I did. I'd busted my face open more times than I can count. Have been stitched up more than times than I can count. So losing a tooth definitely lit a bit of a fire in the match, but definitely didn't derail me in any way. I'm not opposed to getting a little banged up and giving it back.
Nothing you're not used to, like you said, from football.
Yeah, exactly.
What skills from football are applicable to pro wrestling?
Yeah. I think it first comes down to the mindset, the mindset of a college athlete, the mindset of a football player, the coachability mindset of being able to take feedback. You're coming into this wrestling world, whether you're an athlete or an independent wrestler. Um, and the performance center is its own new world. So you have to be coachable. You have to be able to take feedback. You have to be critical of yourself, but in a way that you still stay positive so that you can grow and that you can get better. That's been my whole life with football. I've been hounded on by coaches since I was in fourth grade and was able to take that feedback and apply it and grow and get better. So that's one of the biggest things that I think every athlete, has a little bit of a leg up if they're fortunate enough to come into the performance center. But as far as like actually skills, I was blessed to have amazing trainers, strength coaches, endurance coaches, and position coaches that, made me into a very strong athlete and gave me a very good foundation of athletics and strength training that, has obviously supported me and kept me healthy to this point in my career. I think things that transfer are just that violence. People underestimate the impact of professional wrestling and the wear and tear on your body. It sneaks up on people and they're not ready for that impact over and over again, day after day after day, match after match, week after week. And that adds up. Being a football player, I was used to, getting very torn up through the season. Like you said, whether it was chipping tooth, cutting my face open, having really sore knees and messed up joints a little bit. I always was finding ways to work through that and how to recover the best way. So just really body maintenance and body awareness and just that toughness to be able to take those hits was something that's been being molded into me because of football since I was in fourth grade. And I think I have so many coaches and teammates to thank for that, but that's invaluable when you're coming into a business as tough as professional wrestling in the peak of the business, the WWE.
Amazing. Shifting
Yeah.
gears now, Survivor Series happened 2 days ago at the time of recording this
Yeah.
conversation. What did you think
Yeah.
about the whole show and the two incredible returns from Randy Orton and CM Punk?
Yeah, that was unbelievable at the end there. I mean, there's not much to say. That's what you expect from a pay-per-view that size, from a premium live event that size. The creativity in that Survivor Series match and the passion you saw from Randy, a dude who's obviously seen and done it all, coming back in the shape he was in and performing with the violence and the precision that he did. That's the pinnacle of our sport. That's the pinnacle of our sport and our business. And that's what fired me up, was seeing someone like him who is truly walk the walk and talk the talk his whole entire life and just continually pulls it off. He was absolutely what stood out to me. Obviously, it'll be fun to see what goes on with old CM Punk. I'm a Chicago boy, so that was pretty wild to see.
Yeah, mhm. I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What about you? You have any takeaways? Anything stand out to you at the with Survivor Series?
I'm really excited to see Randy Orton back. I grew up
Yeah.
watching him, but yeah, definitely excited to see what CM Punk does. He's controversial to say the least. So,
He's a legend in his own right, but he's definitely controversial. Yeah.
do you believe in setting goals? And if so, what are some of your goals in WWE as an individual?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I bet goal setting is one of my biggest beliefs, absolute paramount to my entire family. Before the interview, we were talking about one of my tattoos that you point out, which is "You define you." That's tied directly to goal setting. "You define you" is a mantra that my family has repeated my whole entire life, and that's been all about saying that what other people say doesn't define you. Your size doesn't define you. Your circumstances don't define you. You, the goals you set for yourself and the work you put in day and day out, that's what defines you. So that's tied directly to goal setting. I can remember coming back from my first football practice in fourth grade. And I was sitting at my desk at night, wired up, and I said, I'm going to be a Big Ten football player. I grew up in the Big Ten country. I was watching Illinois and Northwestern my whole life, being a Chicago boy. I said, I'm going to play football in the Big Ten. That's what I want to do. That is my mission in life. And I wrote it on a little note card, and I put that note card, I taped it next to my doorway out of my bedroom. And I tapped that note card every single time I went in or out of that bedroom for the next 8 years. And damn it, Omer, it worked. We become what we think about. We become what we think about. So I am all about having a goal and obsessing over it. In terms of goals right now, for myself and Hank, I don't like sharing them. I'm very personal about them, but obviously it's to ride this thing to the top. It is to be the best version of myself, the best version of Hank and Tank that we can possibly be. You know, goals are supposed, I don't believe in, oh, well, you should have realistic goals. That's not, no. I was taught to dream freaking big. So, we don't, without getting into specifics, just because, like I said, I'm a little OCD, I'm a little crazy about when I'm chasing a dream. Without getting into specifics, my dreams are absolutely big in this business, both for myself and especially for Hank and Tank, because that's my brother, and we're gonna work our asses off. That's for sure.
I think it's best to let the fans, run wild with imagination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more about your background in hosting and journalism.
Sure. And not extensive background, but I've always had a passion for speaking. I've always had a passion for being in front of people. I always said that I got this special feeling when I was on a football field, and where I've kind of found that feeling also is when I have a mic in my hand or a camera in my face and a crowd in front of me, things like that. So I was always gravitated to hosting, emceeing, broadcast journalism, and got to dip my toes in those realms through college. Through my awesome supporters and mentors at Northwestern, I was able to, host my own video series through college. I hosted all of our, student athlete functions, both for the student athlete body, but also for mentors and, big time executives and things like that. And I'm blessed to exercise those muscles today through the WWE, going and presenting on our WWE NIL Campus Rush tours, where we go to different colleges throughout the country and tell them about our WWE NIL program and give presentations about them and give them a glimpse into our life like we're doing right now. I love doing things like that. I love, still dipping my toes a little bit in the college football landscape, even if it's just talking some ball on a podcast or whatever it may be. Like I said, I get a charge from connecting with people and bonding over a good conversation. So that's really all that comes from. And it doesn't really matter what the medium it is, whether obviously, I live for what I do in the ring, whether it's wrestling or having a mic in my hand. I live for being in that ring. But at the same time, being on a podcast, hosting a podcast, being on a news station, doing a play, whatever it may be, that's really where I feel alive.
Let's finish off with a round of quick-fire questions. Who were some of your favorite wrestlers growing up?
I always fall back, gotta say, Mick Foley in any variation. Dude, love Cactus Jack. Mankind don't matter. I've always loved Mick Foley. Big Brock Lesnar fan when I was young. Obviously, that's a dream match. I also got to give a shout out to my best friend growing up. Still one of my best friends in the world, Patrick Ladd. We would go nuts for the Boogeyman. He was big when we were in first, second grade, third grade. And I can remember us turning off all the lights in Pat's basement and putting on the Boogeyman's music and pretending to be him. So those are guys that come to mind right away. Obviously, me and Hank are huge fans of the Dudley Boys. Those are the ones that come off right away. Oh, and my dad would be ashamed of me if I didn't say Dick the Bruiser and the Crusher. Those are two legends from back when. So those are my rapid fires.
Deep history right there.
Yeah, brother. Let's go. Little range from the Boogeyman to the Crusher.
I can definitely see you main event in a Mania one day with Brock Lesnar.
That's the goal, brother. Let's go.
What is your favorite finisher of all time?
Dudley Boys, man. 3D. Got to get the tables.
What is your favorite entrance music of all time? And do you have one currently?
It's hard not to say Randy Orton after that pop he got this past Saturday. I hear voices in my head. That's as big as it gets. That was pretty sweet. But I don't know. I mean, also, The Undertaker's hard to beat. I don't want to be basic, but come on. I mean, that bell rings.
Iconic.
Clear the way. Iconic.
Thank you very much for your time today. I have one last question for my closing tradition. If you could leave the next guest with any advice, what would it be? The advice that was left for you is take everything one step at a time and always look at the bright side.
Gosh. I absolutely love that advice from whoever left that. That's fantastic. I was very blessed to grow up in a cup half full household, an optimistic household, a positive household, that preach you define you, and you preach living on the bright side like that last guest. So thank you for them. I absolutely pass on that sentiment, but I guess I'd pass it on in my own words, in a little bit of respect to the household that I grew up in. Smile more. Don't be afraid to smile at people. My dad always told me that the smile is the window that lets people see what's inside. yeah, I get in that ring, I got to go to a dark place and kick some tail. But that doesn't mean I'm not afraid to smile, especially when I'm on a great podcast with a great guy like Omar. I
Thank you.
appreciate, once again, the sentiment from the last guest. I appreciate you having me on today. So all I'm saying to send on to the next person is, hey, don't be afraid to smile, pass it around, because it is absolutely contagious. And I believe in contagious enthusiasm. That's what my life's all about.
Simple but very effective. Thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you.